Okay, so today I want to do a really fast, short lesson because we don't have a lot of time according to our schedule. So we're only doing two questions. The first question is right here, number 21. If you could go ahead and just copy that question, I really appreciate it. Okay, there you go. Let me make some space. Are you ready? Okay, ready? Go. Okay, now that you are done copying, I just want to explain to you really fast how you can solve this. It says the polynomial identity a minus b squared can be expanded into which of the following expressions? Okay, and of course this is a multiple choice test, so we have option A, B, C, and D, and they will give you different things, right? And let me just show you how to do this. If you were in my Algebra 2 class, you would have to have memorized this by then. And so I would have to test you just on memorizing this. But in this class, I want to make sure that you just know how to do this, okay? So what does a minus b squared mean anyway? What does this exponent mean? Oh, that means you multiply the same thing twice, right? What are you multiplying twice? You're multiplying the whole thing inside the parentheses, okay? So you're going to go a minus b times a minus b. And of course, it would be nice if this is the answer and that's it. But no, not really. We have to actually multiply it. And so let's take a look at the box method. I love the box method because you can use it to multiply and also to factor. So I have two terms, so I created two columns. One is for a, the other one is for minus b. Again, I have two terms, so I'm going to do the same thing. Two rows, right? And so one is for A and the other one is for minus B. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and multiply. So A times A is A squared. A times negative B is negative AB. A times negative b is negative ab. Of course, you could write negative ba, but that will be the same as ab. Okay, so I'm just writing ab, so it looks the same over here. Negative times a negative is positive. B times b is b squared. Okay, so there you go. If you remember, you're just supposed to write it out like this. You look at this over here. This is an a squared. Do you see anything else with a squared? No. So you're just going to copy a squared. And then next you're going to look at this right here. And what is it? This is negative AB, negative AB. Oh, they're the same, right? So I just write AB. And then this means negative 1 and negative 1. So negative 1 plus negative 1 is negative 2. And then finally, I have the b squared by itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that as well because there's nothing else with the b squared, okay? And there you go. That is the answer for question number 21, okay? Now, I want you to go ahead and work on 21b, and I want you to solve it like this. Just so you know, for those of you who are really happy about memorizing formulas and that's what you love to do, I want you to just go ahead and try to memorize the formula because you do need it. It will really help you a lot. It saves you time. There you go. So a minus b squared is equal to a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. And of course, I have tricks for you to memorize this, but that's not important at this point in time. So let's work on 21b. Ready? Go. Okay, so now I want us to move on to the next question, which would be number 22. Okay? And this is obviously going to be the last question for today. So let's go ahead and copy the question first. Ready? Go. All right, now that you are done copying the question, let's take a look at this. Let's remember to highlight key terms as we do this. A rocket is launched with an initial velocity, the initial velocity is 560 feet per second. Using the equation, that's nice, they give you the equation. H equals 560t minus 16t squared, where H is the height of the rocket, that's kind of important too, in feet, and T is the time in seconds after launch. When will the rocket return to the ground? Okay, so we need to have some common sense here. If a rocket is being launched, it looks like a crayon, I know, but let's say the rocket is launched here. It will go up, and then eventually it will come back down to the ground, wouldn't it? This looks like a parabola, doesn't it? That's why the equation is right here. It's a parabola. It's negative 16t squared, okay? Anyway, it says, when will the rocket return to the ground? I want you to think about something. The height of the rocket when it starts is what? 0. And then when the rocket goes up, it's going to reach its highest point. And then when it finally returns to the ground, how high is the rocket from the ground? 0. The rocket is again at 0 feet high. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind because you will have two answers, but then the initial height is going to be when the rocket is launching off, and then finally in the end, the other height at 0 is going to be when the rocket returns to the ground. Okay, so now let's continue. You just have to keep that in mind. So basically, we're looking for the height when height is 0. So I'm just basically going to copy this equation. But in order for me to find out in how many seconds the rocket is at 0 feet high, I'm going to put 0 for the height. And then the t is after how many seconds, right? So that is what I'm trying to find right now. When the height is 0, what is my t, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and set up the equation like so. Okay, so now let's take a look at this. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and solve this, right? So we have to factor this, and what that means is we have to look at this term over here and that term over there and find the GCF. What is the thing that we can pull out in common? So you know what, I'm looking at 560t and negative 16t squared, and I know that I could divide both by negative t. So I'm going to pull that out, and then I'm going to open up my parentheses. But what is the other number that I could pull out? Well, I can divide both 560 and 16 by 8. So you know what, instead of just pulling out the negative t, I'm going to pull out negative 8t. And so now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and divide the 560t by negative 8t. And that gives me negative 70. Okay? And then negative 16t squared divided by negative 8t is going to give me 2t. Okay? And I apologize for all that stuff. Okay, so now what we have to understand is that, this is ridiculous. Instead of pulling out 8, I could have pulled out all 16, and that would be 35. Okay, so anyway, I made a mistake again. Let me go ahead and do this. Erase this. So I can divide both by negative 16. So I pull out the negative 16, and then there you go. Open up my parentheses. When I divide this by that, negative 16t, then the t's cancel out, and then I'll get negative 35. And then over here, negative 16t squared divided by negative 16t is going to be just t. Okay? So there you go. Because this times that is 0, I have to say that negative 16t is equal to 0, and that t minus 35 is equal to 0. So in other words, if I divide both sides by negative 16, t would equal 0, and if I add 35 to both sides, t would equal 35. So now look carefully. Which one do you think is the answer, the 0 or the 35? Because in your multiple choice option, you have both. And obviously the answer is B, 35 seconds, because remember what we talked about? In the beginning, your rocket is at 0 feet high at 0 seconds because you're starting to just launch your rocket. But then it goes up, and then after a few seconds, it comes back down to the floor. And again, now the rocket is at 0 feet high. And so again, and how long did it take? It took 35 seconds for the rocket to go up and come down again. So that's why this first answer over here, it doesn't apply. Okay, we have to pick this one. It's after 35 seconds. Okay, so now good job. Let me go ahead and give you the question that you have to work on. Okay, so there you go. Uh-oh, that's not the right answer. Hold on. Let me go ahead and find it really fast. There you go. Here's the last question for you, okay? Ready? Go.